Hello, and thank you for joining me today. This is Jen with Aging Advantage. And today we are going to go through a piece that is going to wrap up all of the other conversations that we have had about housing security and also home safety. So today we're going to be going through an actual home safety checklist. Again, this is a get your pen opportunity. We're going to be going through, again, from an observation standpoint, what is in your environment currently right now? What are you going to possibly reveal and, or I'm going to say expose that you might need a little tune up on, or you might need to address to get a little bit more secure, etc. To get a little bit of a plan in place, what things might we need to look at from a resource perspective, etc. And we're going to be looking at, again, those things. And then also looking at, a housing resource guide for you as well, and emergency contacts, and looking at how do we get all that kind of put together and wrap it all in a bow for you guys from an implementable plan standpoint. So again, Jen with Aging Advantage. And Aging Advantage, we are a non-for-profit organization that supports seniors and disabled adults here in the greater St. Louis area. And through local grants and donations, we offer programs like this to help you all with the effects of post-pandemic situations like housing insecurity, what we've been talking about the last couple educational opportunities, food insecurity that can play into that too, and then isolation issues. And really through the partnerships with the different organizations that we have, we're able to provide you all with educational opportunities like today to have you feel more secure and more safe and more self-reliant and self-resilience, and help you to feel more independent. Being able to continue to navigate your life as you want to, whether that's like we've been talking about, helping you stay, at home. And today we're going to be continuing with that, with the conversation of aging in place. You hear that a lot, but again, helping you guys stay at home where you are now and be able to kind of navigate that successfully and safely and feel good about that for yourself and the people that care for you as well. We kind of help to promote those things and educate you guys on just a various different topics. So if you find any of this content helpful today or any of the other presentations that we have done and educational opportunities, please share them with other people that are in your life that might not even live here in the St. Louis area. Obviously make sure you share it with people that are in the St. Louis and surrounding area that we serve. But again, a lot of these topics are absolutely key and crucial educational moments for people, of all ages, because a lot of us, are either, maybe if we're not going through it ourselves yet from an, aging continuum of care standpoint and needing to figure some of those things out or put some different things in place to make it safe and all the things that need to occur as we age. A lot of us are in the place now or going to be soon that we're caring for a loved one that is, that is aging, or maybe somebody that has a disability as well. So same thing, we need to be able to have the knowledge, maybe even as a caregiver, to be able to support these people more safely, better, and to be able to reduce, the stress for them, but also reduce our own stress by having, like today, the exact things we're going to be talking about today, but to be able to navigate like these conversations and also being aware of just all the things that we need to be paying attention to, and then the resources that we can plug in to make it easier on ourselves as caregivers, but also having a functional, implementable plan for the people that we care for as well in our lives. So again, thank you for joining me today. And as always, get cozy and get whatever you're drinking ready to go. And let's dive in. Today, we are going to talk about aging in place further. And you've heard me use this kind of term before, right? But aging in place, again, kind of like the housing insecurity thing. People throw these words around a lot, but like, what in the world do they actually mean? So, aging in place simply means choosing to remain in your home as you age rather than moving to an assisted living facility, or maybe that would be moving to a nursing home or another care setting potentially. But for many older adults, this aging in place concept, right, or aging at home or aging where they have been living, in an independent, situation, or again, maybe it's with a multi-generational family situation, or maybe, some people nowadays also too, as they age, they actually will put, a couple friends that they have together in the same home, and everybody lives there together instead of everybody, living at like an independent living place or, assisted living place. They kind of group, a couple of people, or maybe even it's a couple of family members, that are aging together, but in one home. So again, it can look different per se, but basically it's just somebody living, in an outside place that's not, like a facility or like a group, you know, um, multi person, group home kind of care set. So for most older adults, again, it's preferred. There, a lot of them are wanting to stay, in, a non commercialized, if you want to call it that, care setting. And, really like with thoughtful planning, like we're going to be talking about today, it is achievable for a lot of people and more than really ever before, especially with a lot of the organizations that have like home health support. You can absolutely have people come in the home to do different kinds of support for you. And, again, that can give people, more security and allow you to have more support in the areas that you specifically need it, especially as you age. So, aging in place planning involves a few different dimensions, and we're going to talk about those. So, the physical dimension is making sure that your home is physically set up to support your safety and your mobility as your needs evolve. And again, you've heard me say this word lots of times, and I'm sure you're going to hear me say it lots of times more. But again, for that continuum of care, right? What do we got right now? What are you physically able to do right now? What kind of, diagnoses, health conditions, etc., limitations, barriers, whatever. What are we working with now? And what is that kind of going to look like for this type of condition as you, continue to age? And that's what we kind of mean by your mobility, etc., evolving and your needs changing and evolving. Social dimension. This is so key. And this one, a lot of people don't talk about, but we got to talk about it. This is absolutely important. The social dimension. So, making sure that you're connected and that you have people around you, that you're not isolated. The support dimension. So, knowing what services are available to help with things like personal care, transportation, meals, paying bills, keeping your house, cleaned, and etc., and all the things. But also the financial dimension, like what I was just kind of saying, understanding how you'll manage your housing costs also over time and rising house costs over time while your, income coming in a lot of times for some, most people are going to be fixed as you get older. You're going to have that Social Security. You may or may not have pension, and you may or may not also have a 401k or a retirement plan. So, from the financial dimension, not just necessarily how do we pay the bills, but how do we plan for cost of living now? And again, what the heck is that going to look like down the road? What does that look like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, etc. And again, what resources are available to help? So, it's not something that you have to plan alone. So please know this. And if it's not something that also that you have to wait until there's a crisis moment to think about. The best time to think about this whole aging in place thing is actually like now, before you're even in the middle of a difficult situation, when you have the time proactively and the clarity, when you don't have the stress and the pressure of being reactive because an event and a situation happened and like now you got to react to it super quick fast, but to think through these things carefully. So let's next move to the safety home checklist and looking at, are you really prepared? And what do we need to do to have certainty and be prepared? So this is the public service announcement, take your pen out moment for all of you. So I'm going to give you a second to get your pen. Off you go, find a pen and come back, and a piece of paper. Okay, now let's talk through a practical home safety checklist. And again, this can be far more expanded than this, but this is just a good kind of bare minimum starting place for you guys. And again, this is a starter list. That's how we're going to think of this, but this is a set of just simple but important questions to ask yourself, or again, walk through this with a family member or a care professional, like again, a care manager, case manager, social worker, somebody like that that's going to be supportive, that you trust. But these are kind of questions that you're going to need to walk through. So question number 1. And what is it? So it's meaning. What kind of space are you working with? So write that down. What kind of space, are you working with? So before we can make a plan, we got to think about your home honestly, or, whatever situation, living environment you're in. We got to look at these kind of things specifically. How many floors does it have? So are we on a 1 floor single slab, as they would call it, scenario where one single floor, so it's kind of like, think like ranch house scenario here, single floor, concrete foundation, and there is no basement underneath of it at all. So that would be a 1 floor. Do we have a ranch house that has a basement? Do we have a ranch house that has a basement? Maybe, but the basement is a walkout basement. Maybe we have a 2-story. Again, with a basement, may or may not be a walkout. Some of the older homes and some of the really cool homes that are some of the older homes in the St. Louis and surrounding area that have so much history and so much cool character to them, sometimes can have 3 stories, can have 3 floors up, and a basement. Some of them can have 3 stories and like a little, I call it like a little, like a lookout nest area. They can almost have, quote unquote, almost like a little mini little 4th story lookout area even as well, that you might have to navigate. So think about that first, like how many floors are we working with? How many bathrooms do we have going on? Where are these bathrooms? Are there stairs that somebody's going to have to navigate to enter and exit just the home in general? And in the very first video conversation we had, we talked about, this is where a lot of people get tripped up on this one. So I'm just going to pause you for a second here about the entering the house with the stairs. Think about all the way around the house. Okay. What do you have going on in the front? Do you have steps that have to go up to a porch to get in the house? Is there a side entry? Um, People forget about this, but on the back of the house, are there stairs to get in? How many? And maybe there's a whole heck of a lot of stairs that you have to go up to get on the deck to get inside the house, right? Um, the other thing, like we discussed in the first video as well, too, that a lot of people miss this one. So, public service announcement, pay attention here. Um, what does the garage situation look like? Do you have a carport that you just, also maybe it's carport, maybe it's a garage, maybe you have street parking. What does your parking situation look like? If the person still is driving, like where are you parking? And then how are you getting from parking? Like let's pretend for a second it's in the parking, like it's in a garage or it's in a covered parking area, but nevertheless, either way, likely you're going to have to go up, potentially, some stairs to get in the house. You need to make sure we have a railing for hand railing, one side, both sides, potentially to go up those stairs, also to get in the house, or we might need a ramp on the front of the house, and we might need a ramp in the garage as well to get in the house. So, pay attention to that when you're answering this question, how do you get in the house? I want you to look at all four sides of this house. And also, where is the person parking and how are they getting in the house from the parking situation? So, also things to think about. Is there a bedroom on the main floor? Is there a bathroom on the main floor? Maybe it's a half bath. Maybe you can have a full bath on the main floor. Are the bedrooms upstairs? Are the bathrooms upstairs? Like, where are these things located? What would happen if you were unable to navigate the stairs? If you couldn't do the stairs, well, like then what? Like we talked about in the very first video again, then the person is just going to legitimately be like cut off from being able to access whatever is on the other side of those stairs. Whether that's a bedroom, a bathroom, maybe, it's just a craft room. Maybe it is, the laundry room. If the laundry room, and we see this a lot in some of the older homes where the laundry room is literally the only thing downstairs in this tiny little basement. Some people will use storage, for those spaces as well. But a lot of times, like in some of these older, really huge, maybe 3-story homes, whatever, like the laundry is in the basement. Well, if you can't get down to the basement safely and back up, especially carry a laundry basket down the stairs with you and carry laundry back up the stairs with you is a huge feat, especially if you can't even do the stairs in the first place. So, where's the laundry located? Let's think about that too. But again, what would happen, if you couldn't navigate the stairs? Then what? So getting a clear picture, of the physical, just overall layout of your home and is a good starting point for thinking through safety. Again, where's the kitchen? What floor is that on? What floor also could you maybe put a microwave on or, put a blender on or something like that that might not be the main floor, but might give somebody, access to being able to utilize a space a little bit differently. So kind of thinking outside the box. But second question is, do we have a pathway to safety? And this goes back to talking about the emergency situation. So if we have, God forbid, a fire, or again, on some of these homes, some of these older homes, and just homes in general, you can also have a gas leak or like a medical crisis. This is a humongous one. We just navigated this recently with someone in my extended family. They had a situation where they passed out, fell in the bathroom. Well, like because of we talked about this in the last video, like the narrow doorways and the narrow hallway situations, etc., and how in their home, like stuff twisted and turned around corners of hallways and whatnot. Um, 911 was called, the paramedics were called, and they could absolutely not navigate at all back to getting into the space, into the bathroom to get this person, extracted out. So they had to put this person in a like a sling, whatever kind of thing, and literally drag them out of the bathroom in this sling thing down the hallway until they could get to a wide open space in the living room, to even get them up on the stretcher to get them out the front door of the house. So, thinking through things like this, yes, maybe, the person who is aging, their bedroom is on the third floor or the second floor or wherever it is. But, maybe, and again, some of these older homes had the most amazing, coolest staircases ever, but maybe it's like a spirally, windy, big, windy staircase to get up to the second floor. And, like, yeah, that's not going to be the easiest for, EMS or somebody like that to navigate if they would have to go up and, get that person. So again, think about things like that. I know we don't like to think about things like that, but yeah, you don't want to be thinking about those aspects, way down the road for someone, especially like when there's bleeding involved, someone's having a heart attack, someone's having a stroke, whatever, all the things, when seconds count, you don't want, the paramedics, the firefighters, whatever, having to navigate a bunch of extra barriers that could have been eliminated just with better planning. So again, I know that is not a lovely, topic, any of that, to have to pre-think about ahead of time, but you got to be aware of these things, guys. And again, I was not, I mean, it makes sense to me, yes, but I wasn't as acutely aware of this until, again, situation, came up with, extended family member. And yeah, it made me stop and think like, oh man, and in their home particular situation, there isn't any other way that they could have navigated that. Particular situation, there isn't a way that they can change this person's bedroom around or whatever to be in a more user friendly position necessarily, but if there was, like, that would make sense. So again, things to think about. So again, in an emergency, like, how do you get out, and can you do it? If you live alone, how would you summons help if you fell or if you became extremely ill or seriously ill? Where is it that the medical alert systems, again, where do they come in? And there are also those wearable devices that can allow you to call for help with the push of a button, which are awesome nowadays. We have so much technology, but they're not just for people in a crisis. They're for anyone that also wants peace of mind of knowing that help is literally just a push button away. And, again, it's a great proactive strategy to have in place. So please think about, that whether, there's also, from a pathway standpoint, you need to have a clear, unobstructed pathway to every exit in your home. So move furniture if you need, remove anything also that, could slow you down, like clutter, etc. So the third question is, where do you keep important documents? So this one surprises a lot of people, and it's important because it is important. In an emergency, first responders, your family members, medical personnel, etc., a neighbor, whatever, a trusted neighbor. But anyway, somebody might need to access your important documents quickly. Your insurance card, your list of medications, your advanced directives, like we talked about. Your power of attorney financial, power of attorney medical, your, do not resuscitate, we call it the DNR, etc. Right? But Your emergency contacts. Where are those things right now? Are they in a place where someone you trust could find them easily? Consider, again, making copies of these things and putting it in a clearly labeled folder in an obvious accessible location, not buried in a file cabinet that no one knows that you have in the back storage room of the basement under 3 piles of stuff. The fourth question is, like we talked about, the DNR, the do not resuscitate. Do you have a do not resuscitate in order for, specific medical order? Or, or again, do you have like a specific medical order like that, maybe like signed by a physician, et cetera, that instructs emergency responders to not attempt CPR if your heart stops or you stop breathing? Otherwise, if you don't have one of these in place, the medical teams are going to automatically assume that you want to have CPR done, and that they want to you want to have them attempt to resuscitate you. For people who've decided that they don't want that kind of aggressive restitution happening, and they don't want those measures happening. Maybe it's not in line for whatever reason, with their wishes or their current medical situation, etc. A DNR is an important document for those people because, here's what a lot of people don't know. A DNR has to be accessible to be effective. Again, if emergency responders can't follow a DNR and they can't, they can't follow it. If it's in a safety deposit box somewhere or tucked away in some filing cabinet somewhere, it needs to be somewhere that's visible and easy for them to find. Often recommended on a refrigerator or near the front door or in an obvious location. If you have a DNR, talk to your family members about it and, whether or not, again, you should have one and if it's the right thing for you and how to get one, if you need. And this is a conversation also too that you can, absolutely have with your doctor. So, housing resource guide. So we've covered a lot of ground today already, but I want to leave you with something tangible kind of to hold on to here. So the takeaway for today's presentation is the housing resource guide. And this is, a place to really organize all your emergency contacts also here. So I want to encourage you, whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, whether you're at home or you're, on your alone, or whether you're with someone, to actually use these resources, not file them away and forget about them, but to sit down, look through them, and to even take one or two concepts based on what we've already talked about today. So here's what I'd suggest. Approaching the housing resource guide this way. So, and again, this is the get your pen opportunity. So start by identifying the areas where you or your household faces the most uncertainty or stress right now. Where is that? So that could be, paying utility bills, or maybe home maintenance issues are, piling up. Concerns about accessibility. You have mobility issues, and we need to start thinking about how do you get up and down the stairs, or how do you get to the laundry? Maybe we need to put the laundry and have it moved onto the main floor instead of in the basement. We need to have those conversations. Not having the legal documents in place, like maybe you don't have the power of attorney financial or the power of attorney medical. Maybe you don't have the DNR that we've talked about lots of times. The do not resuscitate. If you don't want to have CPR done, etc., you need to have the do not resuscitate ready to go. But whatever it is, this today is your starting point. So look at the resources in the guide corresponding to that area and just make, one phone call or one inquiry this week in that area or in that category. For emergency contacts, if you don't already have them written down and a list of your important contacts, again, like your doctors, your pharmacies, trusted family members, neighbors, trusted friends, etc., please take those phone numbers, public service announcement, out of your phone and handwrite them down on a piece of paper. And make sure someone has a copy of them besides, just yourself. So consider also potentially keeping one on your refrigerator, like on the side of your refrigerator, because often that's one of the first places that emergency responders would know, to look. So a few key contacts worth noting also, again, take your pen out, is SLAA, SLAAA, here in the St. Louis area. So that stands for St. Louis Area Agency on Aging. So write that down. And that can be reached, statewide throughout Missouri. Also, this agency is going to be a different agency, but Missouri Aging and Disability Resource Center. So I'm going to say that one again because that one's a new one. That one's different. So Missouri Aging and Disability Resource Center. Or you can also call 2211. Again, 211. And that's a free helpline that's available around the clock that's going to connect you with health and social services in your local community. So sometimes if you're unsure where to start, 211 can be a wonderful first call. Or again, let us know at Aging Advantage and reach out to us. And we are totally happy to get you connected to the resources and the services that you need. Again, we have social workers, case managers, care managers, housing experts, etc. We have a whole huge team of people that are here to help support you guys through these particular things and help you navigate these things as well. So you are not in this alone whatsoever. So I also want to close with this, that again, this whole series has kind of been like home is more than just four walls. And I truly mean that because your home is really like your history and it's your comfort. But also for a lot of people, mentally and emotionally for them as well, like it's also their independence. And it's where you feel most like yourself. And a lot of people feel safe there. But again, protecting your ability to actually physically, mentally, emotionally, all the things, like actually stay safe there and comfortable in your home as you age is worth the time and the effort it takes to plan for it. So, you don't have to face, again, these questions alone. There are people and organizations like SLAA and like us whose entire purpose is to help you navigate exactly this territory. So please reach out and use the resources available to you. And again, share this information with someone that you think might be needing it. And, we just, again, thank you for, being with us and, taking the time to learn new things today. And, again, if you found this presentation helpful today and this educational opportunity helpful today, we would love for you to follow Aging Advantage on Facebook or on YouTube and share this video and this series, with someone, again, doesn't have to be here in the St. Louis area, but someone that it could help and that could benefit. And you're going to find, again, on Facebook or YouTube, a full library of really incredible presentations on health and well-being and aging well and aging in place, taking care of yourselves, and again, helping you to navigate, things like housing and food and isolation issues and, health challenges, etc. But we have a whole lot of different really incredible content for all of you to be able to learn from. So again, thank you for joining us. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Thank you.